The morning light spilled across the dormitory room, golden and intrusive, chasing away the shadows I had clung to the night before. I lay there for a long time, staring at the ceiling, listening to the faint hum of campus life awakening outside. Every sound, the distant shuffle of feet, the soft murmur of students, pulled me from my thoughts, yet couldn't distract me from the persistent pull of Luigi. He had become the invisible axis around which my days now spun, the center of a gravity I couldn't resist. And yet, the guilt lingered. Heather's subtle disappointment, the way she had watched me in the coffee, had left traces of unease that refused to fade. I was caught in a tug of war between loyalty and fascination, between the familiar and the unknown. Classes began, mundane and familiar, yet my focus wavered, flitting to the windows, to the streets outside, to the subtle movements in the quad that might signal Luigi's presence. He always seemed to appear just at the edge of my awareness, never fully present, yet impossible to ignore. During one particular lecture on structural hydraulics, I found my notes half complete, the rest of the page filled with sketches and scribbles of Luigi's face. The curve of his jaw, the angle of his eyes, the casual ease of his posture. I rendered them in ink as if capturing him on paper might make sense of the way he dominated my thoughts. Heather nudged me once, a quiet reminder of her presence. "Marco, are you even listening?" she whispered, the faint exasperation in her voice barely masked. "I'm here," I muttered, though my voice betrayed the truth. I wasn't here. My mind was elsewhere, wandering through the corridors of memory, tracing every fleeting glance, every subtle gesture, every word Luigi had spoken that had left me unmoored. After class, I lingered near the steps of the library, a place that had become an unspoken meeting ground for him and me. The sun had warmed the stone, and the air was thick with the sense of summer. Damp grass, distant exhaust, the faint aroma of cafe pastries. I waited, heart pounding, hoping that he might appear, and, as if on cue, Luigi emerged from the shadows of the quad. He carried his camera, casually draped over his shoulder, moving with the ease of someone who belonged everywhere and nowhere all at once. He spotted me almost immediately, the faintest lift of his eyebrows signaling recognition. "Marco," he said, voice low, carrying that familiar mix of amusement and gravity. "You're persistent." "I'm waiting," I admitted, cheeks flushing. "I like being here." He smiled faintly, and the simple curve of his lips sent a shiver down my spine. "You're patient, too," he said. "Most people don't wait. They move on. They don't linger. But you linger. You observe." I wanted to tell him everything, that my thoughts, my heart, my very being had started to revolve around him. But the words lodged in my throat. Instead, I nodded, letting silence carry the weight of meaning between us. Heather's presence became more complicated. She seemed to sense the subtle shift in my attention, the way my eyes followed Luigi, the faint tension in my posture when he was near. One afternoon, she confronted me directly as we walked across the quad. "Marco," she said, voice quiet but firm, "I can feel it. Something is changing. You're different. I don't know why, but I see it in you." I don't know what you mean," I said, attempting a neutral tone, but it faltered under her gaze. "You do know." She pressed, her eyes searching mine for any hint of truth. "There's someone who occupies your thoughts in ways I never have. Tell me it's not true." Her words cut deep, slicing through the fragile control I tried to maintain. I couldn't speak. To confess would shatter the delicate balance. To deny would be a lie. I could only look away, heart hammering, chest tight with emotion I couldn't yet name. She sighed, a mixture of hurt and resignation in the sound. "I see. I don't know what to do with that, but I hope you know what you're doing." Later that week, Marco's part-time job at the campus store became the stage for an unexpected encounter. The store was quiet, a rare lull in the constant flow of students. I was restocking shelves when the bell above the door jingled, signaling a customer, or, in this case, Luigi. He moved with an ease that made the mundane seem extraordinary. He didn't come to shop, at least not for snacks or drinks, but his presence filled the space, commanding attention without a single word. "Marco," he said softly, his voice threading through the quiet hum of fluorescent lights. "I noticed you here again." Yeah," I stammered, trying to focus on the boxes I was handling, though my hands shook slightly. "It's part of the routine." He leaned against the counter, eyes scanning me, analyzing, observing. "You notice everything," he said. "Even the small things. It's impressive." I felt exposed, vulnerable under his gaze, yet strangely understood. I just try to," I murmured, unsure how else to respond. Luigi's smile deepened, a subtle, knowing curve of his lips. "And it makes you different. Special. But careful. You notice more than most, which means you also see more than you're prepared to handle." The days grew hotter, the campus more crowded, and every encounter with Luigi became a delicate dance of proximity and restraint. We shared fleeting conversations, small gestures, an exchanged glance, a faint nod, but each carried layers of meaning. My awareness of him, and my growing attachment, heightened the tension with Heather, who seemed increasingly perceptive of the invisible thread pulling me towards someone I couldn't fully acknowledge. One afternoon, while sitting on the library steps, I noticed Heather approaching. Her pace was measured, purposeful, yet hesitant. She stopped a few feet away, hands fidgeting with the strap of her bag. "Marco," she said softly, voice tinged with vulnerability. "I can't ignore it anymore. I see it, even if you don't want to admit it. You're distracted, preoccupied, and it's him, isn't it?" I swallowed hard. My heart pounded, chest tight. "I don't know," I whispered, though the lie felt thin, unsustainable. Heather's eyes glimmered with unshed emotion. "You have to choose, Marco, between loyalty and fascination. Between me and him." I couldn't respond. The weight of her words pressed down, heavy and suffocating. The truth was complex, tangled with desire, curiosity, guilt, and fear. I couldn't disentangle it, couldn't sort the threads into anything coherent. That night, sleep came fitfully. My dreams were a chaotic blend of Heather's gaze, Luigi's smile, the tangled emotions of the day. I woke repeatedly, heart racing, mind spinning, caught in a loop of longing and guilt. The tension was unbearable, yet exhilarating, a storm of emotions I couldn't resist. By morning, I realized that nothing could return to the way it had been. Heather's presence, once comforting, now felt like a reminder of what I couldn't have fully devoted myself to. Luigi's presence, once fleeting and subtle, now dominated my thoughts, shaping my day, my actions, my emotions. The realization was both terrifying and exhilarating. I had crossed an invisible line. My heart, my attention, my very being had been claimed by someone I barely understood, someone who had unknowingly become the axis of my life. And there was no turning back. The following week, campus life seemed unusually charged, as if the air itself carried the weight of something unsaid. I walked to my classes with a sense of heightened awareness, scanning the faces of students, noting the subtle shifts in energy, the laughter, the whispers, the small moments of human connection that normally went unnoticed. Luigi's presence lingered at the edge of my perception, a constant hum in my mind, shaping my day with quiet insistence. Heather remained a shadow beside me, a constant reminder of the life I had built, the love I had promised, the loyalty I had committed to. But every time I looked at her, every time she smiled or brushed a stray hair from her face, I felt the pang of conflict intensify, the guilt gnawed at me, sharp and insistent. Yet it did nothing to diminish the pull toward Luigi. During lunch, I sat under the old oak near the student center, trying to focus on the sandwich in my hands. The warmth of the sun pressed down on the quad, and the chatter of my peers created a comforting background rhythm. And then, inevitably, Luigi appeared. He moved with that same effortless grace, weaving through clusters of students, eyes flicking briefly to mine before continuing on. I felt my pulse accelerate. He had the ability to command attention without demanding it, to fill a space without overtly occupying it. It was frustrating, maddening, intoxicating. "Marco," he said as he approached, voice low and measured. "You always seem to find the quietest spots." "I guess I like the quiet," I muttered, trying to sound casual, though my hands trembled slightly. "It helps me think." He nodded slowly, settling onto the grass beside me. "Thinking, noticing, it makes you different. Most people drift through life without seeing the details, without understanding the subtleties. But you notice, you care." The words struck a chord I hadn't known existed. I wanted to speak, to tell him how much he had changed me, how much I thought of him, how much I longed for the moments we shared, even fleetingly. But the words remained trapped, heavy and unformed, lodged in my throat like stones. Later that afternoon, Heather found me alone in the library. She leaned against the doorway, arms crossed, her expression unreadable yet charged with emotion. "Marco," she began softly, "we need to talk." I closed my notebook slowly, bracing myself. "About what?" I asked, though I knew perfectly well. "You," she said simply. "Your attention, your thoughts. I see it, Marco. You're different around him." The name hung in the air between us, sharp and undeniable. I don't know what you mean," I whispered, though my denial felt hollow even to myself. Heather stepped closer, her eyes searching mine. "You do know. I can see it in your eyes, in the way you hesitate, in the way you look at him. You're torn." I looked away, chest tight, words failing me. The truth was too dangerous, too vulnerable. To admit it would change everything. To deny it would be a lie. I could only nod slightly, a gesture of uncertain concession. "I don't know what to do with this," she said, her voice tinged with hurt. "But I can't ignore it anymore. If he's occupying your thoughts, you need to decide where your heart truly lies." The tension with Heather grew over the next few days. Her presence, once comforting, now felt like a tether, a constant reminder of the emotional complexity I couldn't yet resolve. I found myself increasingly restless, walking the campus grounds alone, seeking the quiet spaces where I might catch a glimpse of Luigi. And Luigi, true to form, always appeared in those spaces, as if he sensed my presence, as if he knew I needed him even before I realized it myself. Our encounters were brief, subtle, shared glances, fleeting smiles, the occasional whispered remark. But each carried the weight of unspoken understanding. One evening, as the sun dipped low behind the library, I found Luigi sitting on the steps, camera in hand, capturing the fading light. I approached cautiously, unsure how to bridge the gap between us. "Marco," he said softly, not looking up from his lens. "You're here again. I should have expected it, but—" I needed to be here," I admitted, settling beside him. I don't know why, but it feels right." He finally looked at me, eyes locking with mine. "It does, doesn't it? Even when everything else is complicated, even when the world feels heavy. Some moments, they just belong." The sincerity in his voice struck me like lightning. I wanted to reach out, to touch, to speak, to reveal the turmoil within me. But the words remained unspoken, the tension between us charged and unrelenting. At the campus cafe later that week, I overheard fragments of conversation that made my pulse quicken. Students whispered about a new incident in the city, about people being caught up in circumstances beyond their control. I couldn't shake the unease that settled over me, a premonition that something was coming, that the quiet moments with Luigi were a fragile calm before a storm I didn't yet understand. Heather joined me for a late lunch, her expression carefully neutral, yet I could sense the underlying tension. "Are you okay?" she asked, voice soft, concerned. "I'm fine," I replied, though I knew it was another lie. "Just tired." She studied me for a long moment, eyes narrowing slightly. "You're hiding something," she said quietly. "And I don't know what it is, but it's affecting you. And me?" I looked away, unable to meet her gaze. The truth was too dangerous, too complicated. The fascination, the pull toward Luigi, the unspoken emotions. All of it threatened to unravel everything I had carefully maintained. That evening, alone in my dorm, I found myself replaying every encounter with Luigi. Every glance, every word, every subtle gesture seemed magnified in my mind, each one a thread weaving an intricate tapestry of longing, confusion, and desire. I felt the weight of Heather's gaze, her silent questions, her unspoken doubts pressing against the edges of my consciousness. And then, I realized something I couldn't deny. I had crossed an invisible threshold. My attention, my thoughts, my very heart had been claimed by Luigi, whether I wanted it or not. The realization was both exhilarating and terrifying. Sleep came fitfully that night, dreams filled with fragmented images. Luigi's smile, Heather's questioning eyes, the shifting patterns of campus life, the delicate dance of proximity and restraint that had come to define my days. I woke repeatedly, heart pounding, mind racing, caught between loyalty and fascination, between the past and an unknown future. The days blurred into a rhythm of stolen glances and unspoken tension. Every encounter with Luigi was a study in subtlety, a delicate negotiation of boundaries, of feelings not yet named. Heather remained ever present, her silent observation a constant reminder of the choices I could not yet face. And yet, despite the guilt, despite the tension, despite the uncertainty, I could not resist the pull. Luigi had become the axis of my thoughts, the center of my quiet obsessions, and I knew, deep down, that nothing would ever be the same. The calm before the storm was over. The first tremors of change had begun to ripple through my life, setting the stage for events that would challenge loyalty, morality, and the heart itself. The week grew heavier with an unspoken tension, a fragile current threading through every interaction I had. Each class, each meeting, each casual encounter seemed charged with layers I could barely navigate. Luigi's presence lingered, invisible yet palpable, a constant magnet pulling at my attention. I could not escape it, and I did not want to. Heather's vigilance intensified. She was everywhere, in ways subtle and overt, watching, questioning, waiting for me to falter, to betray the loyalty she believed I still owed her. Her eyes would linger longer than necessary, her voice would carry a note of inquiry, even in casual remarks, and her touch, once comforting, now pressed against me like a silent accusation. One afternoon, while returning from a long lecture on fluid dynamics, I caught Heather leaning against a wall near the student center, arms folded, expression sharp, eyes narrowing the instant she saw me. "Marco," she said, voice deceptively light, "we need to discuss Gus." I swallowed hard, heart hammering. "Hither I don't." "Don't what?" She interrupted, stepping closer. "Dodge me, lie to me. Pretend you're still the same person." Her gaze pierced through me. "I know something is happening. I see it in your eyes, in your hands, in the way you breathe when he's near. You're distracted, and it's not fair. Not to me, not to yourself." I opened my mouth to reply, but the words seemed too heavy, too fragile. The truth was complex, tangled, dangerous. I could not say it aloud. Not yet. Not without unraveling everything fragile that still held. Heather's sigh carried a mixture of hurt and resignation. "You're thinking of him, aren't you?" I could not deny it. My pulse accelerated. "I don't know," I muttered, hoping my hesitation might shield me, even briefly. "You do know," she whispered, voice low, almost breaking. "And I can't compete with him. I see it, I feel it, and maybe I never could." Her words lingered, heavy and suffocating, pressing against my conscience. I wanted to speak, to explain, to confess, yet fear tethered my tongue. Fear of losing everything, fear of unraveling the delicate balance, fear of what Luigi's presence had awakened in me. Something I could not yet name. That evening, my shift at the campus store became unusually chaotic. The bell above the door jingled constantly, a stream of students weaving in and out. I was rearranging stock when a familiar voice called my name. "Marco," Luigi said softly as he stepped inside. The store seemed smaller with him in it, the fluorescent lights dull against the intensity of his presence. "I didn't expect you," I stammered, trying to appear composed while my hands shook. He leaned casually against the counter, camera slung over his shoulder. "I could say the same," he replied. "You always seem to find yourself here at the same time I do. It's almost as if the universe conspires to bring us together." I laughed nervously, though it sounded hollow, even to my ears. "Maybe it does," I said, though my voice betrayed nothing of the emotions churning within me. For a moment, silence stretched between us, charged and electric. Luigi's eyes, calm yet piercing, studied me. "Marco, you're thinking of her, aren't you?" he asked, voice low. I froze, heart hammering. "I don't know," I admitted, though the truth hung between us, undeniable. Luigi's lips curved in a faint, knowing smile. "You do, but it doesn't change what's happening here now. You're distracted, yes, but also attentive, careful, observant, and it's admirable." The words cut through the tension, but they also highlighted it. I was caught in a web bound by loyalty, fascination, and an attraction I could not yet fully understand. The following days passed in a blur of lectures, work shifts, and stolen glances. Heather's jealousy simmered beneath the surface, a constant pressure I could neither ignore nor soothe. Every interaction with Luigi became a careful dance, measured and deliberate, yet infused with a magnetism I could not resist. One afternoon, while stocking shelves, I noticed a suspicious figure lingering near the back of the store. A man, mid-30s, wearing a hoodie pulled low over his face, eyes darting nervously. He approached the counter, glanced around, and then discreetly placed a small package under his arm. My pulse quickened. Something about the movement felt wrong, unnatural, deliberate. I knew immediately. This was not just a student buying snacks. Something darker lurked beneath the surface. Luigi appeared at that exact moment, stepping into the store as if he sensed the disturbance. His eyes flicked to the man, then to me. "Stay calm," he whispered under his breath. "Observe." The man left the store, and Luigi followed a few steps behind, keeping a careful distance. I hesitated, torn between fear and curiosity. I wanted to follow, to understand, but the rational part of me screamed to stay put. Later that evening, Luigi met me outside the dorm, shadows stretching across the courtyard. "Marco," he said softly, voice steady despite the tension, "you saw what happened. You noticed. Good. That awareness, it will serve you well, but you need to be careful. Danger can appear when you least expect it." "I didn't do anything," I said, my voice trembling. "I just saw." That's enough," Luigi replied, eyes locking onto mine. "Sometimes, just seeing is all it takes. The world it moves in ways we can't always control. But observing, understanding, noticing, that's how we survive. That's how we make choices." His words resonated, a mixture of caution and wisdom. I wanted to ask him more, to understand what he meant, but the moment felt fragile, precarious. Any further questions might unravel the delicate balance we had established. Heather's presence became unbearable that night. I found her sitting outside my dorm, waiting. "Marco," she said quietly, eyes glistening with emotion. "I saw you earlier. You were with him, weren't you?" "Watching, observing, noticing." "Wes," I admitted, voice low. I didn't mean to." "You didn't mean to," she echoed, hurt and anger entwined in her tone. "Do you even know what that means to me, to us?" I looked away, unable to meet her gaze. The truth was too heavy, too dangerous. The fascination, the pull toward Luigi, the unspoken emotions. All of it threatened to unravel everything I had carefully maintained. The night deepened, and with it, a sense of inevitability. The world was shifting beneath my feet, forces beyond my control beginning to intersect with the fragile threads of my life. Luigi had become a catalyst, a spark igniting something I could not yet define, yet could not resist. Heather's shadow lingered, a constant reminder of the loyalty I had promised, the love I had vowed to uphold. And still, the pull toward Luigi remained, stronger, more insistent, impossible to deny. As I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, the events of the day replayed in my mind. The fleeting glance of the suspicious man, Luigi's quiet intervention, Heather's piercing gaze. The pieces were moving, and soon I realized I would be forced to act, to choose, to confront the realities that had been silently assembling around me. The calm before the storm was over. Change was coming, danger was near, and I, caught between loyalty and fascination, between Heather and Luigi, between fear and desire, knew that nothing would ever be the same.